Your Excellencies and ladies and gentlemen in the gallery, Isambulanak. Extend warm greetings to our traditional chiefs, religious and community leaders at home and abroad who are following these proceedings through Parliament channel and other electronic platforms. I thank you for your continued interest and engagement in the leadership of our nation. I also acknowledge, Mr. Speaker, sir, the traditional leaders and custodians of the land of Suva, and Donmai, the Kunina, Turaga Suva, the chiefs past, present and emerging, and offer our respects and gratitude for their custodianship of this land since it became the seat of our then colonial and now national capital, 1882. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise to commend the motion that's before Parliament now, and that is to thank His Excellency the President for his most gracious address delivered at the opening of the session of Parliament on Monday, the 16th of February, 2026. The address reflects not only the programs of government, but also the aspirations of our people for unity, stability, prosperity, and above all, a mature democracy. As he has said, and I quote, "This address reflects the aspirations of our people and the collective responsibility of the arms of government to serve the national interests and work towards the continued well-being of our fellow citizens." End of quote. Mr. Speaker, sir, His Excellency reminded us that unity, long-term planning, and shared responsibility must guide our nation's journey. Unity is not merely the absence of disagreement. It is about the greater good. It is trust, loyalty, solidarity, and respect. It is the discipline to protect our diversity as strength, choosing common purpose over self-interest, cooperation over individualism, deciding to help the weak even when you have the means to go on your own. Democracy is not sustained by elections alone. It is sustained by the belief that in freedom, in the integrity of the person, the best of humanity is unleashed. Democracy is sustained by leadership that listens, institutions that are grounded in accountability, laws that uphold dignity, policies that are morally, ethically, and legally right. It is reflected in fairness, impartiality, in the application of law, for accountability, for nurturing and sustaining trust. We talk about many things that are encapsulated in our aspirations for quality standard of living, chief of which are welfare, economy, and security. These are key areas, and yes, they are very important, Mr. Speaker, sir. But we need to look for what is vital to the existence of Fiji's decency as a nation and its principled place in the world. Mr. Speaker, sir, we cannot and must not lose sight of democracy. We need to cherish and value it. It is in this system of government that our existence as a nation and as a people rests. The rights and dignity of our people, the freedom to choose, to express ourselves and move about are only possible in an environment of democracy. To the indigenous Fijians and Ratuman, their rights to their status and resources, the way they want to evolve their traditional systems, structures, and cultures are possible within that democracy. To every community and person, democracy upholds their rights and upholds their integrity. Democracy thrives when governance is accountable. That is the standard we set for ourselves, a standard we must uphold. Speaker, sir, the vision articulated by His Excellency is firmly embedded in our National Development Plan 2025 to 2029, aligned to Vision 2050, and guided by the theme, Empowering the People of Fiji through Unity. The plan provides a clear national roadmap shaped through consultations across all divisions, including Rotuma. It recognizes the realities we face: climate vulnerability, global economic uncertainty, we're feeling that right now, and domestic pressures. Our responses require unity of purpose. The plan is anchored on these three pillars, strategic pillars: economic resilience to drive sustainable growth, productivity, job creation, and shock readiness; people empowerment to ensure development translates into better services, stronger human capital, safer communities and expanded opportunity, and good governance to uphold transparency, integrity, and accountability, and public trust. Government is equally mindful that sustaining our national development ambitions requires a step change in our economic performance. While Fiji has maintained a steady growth trajectory, our strategic objective is mobilizing Fiji to move from a low-income nation to a high-income nation status by lifting the national growth target to 6% annually by 2050, from the 3.5 we are at. Achieve 3.4, Mr. Chair. Achieving this higher growth pathway will provide a renewed impetus to our development plans, expand employment opportunities, and strengthen the fiscal space needed to invest in infrastructure, social services, and climate resilience. To realize this ambition, government will pursue a coordinated strategy focused on productivity-led growth, targeted investment in key sectors such as tourism, agriculture, fisheries, manufacturing, and the digital economy, improved ease of doing businesses, and stronger public-private partnerships. Equally important will be investments in human capital, innovation, and modern infrastructure that enable our people and enterprises to compete in an increasingly dynamic global economy. Through disciplined policy implementation and whole-of-government coordination, we are confident that Fiji can accelerate growth in a way that is inclusive, sustainable, and resilient, delivering tangible benefits for all our citizens. These targets and objectives were discussed very seriously with the three World Bank Group regional vice presidents who visited us last week. It is not simply a development framework. It is also the democratic framework for progress, because sustainable development requires public confidence, institutional credibility, and collective effort. Mr. Speaker, sir, we're moving in the right direction, but we need to do more. All our work from here forward is towards that goal. Together, we can. Mr. Speaker, sir, I acknowledge the recent visit by the United States Deputy Secretary of State, which marked an important milestone in the strengthening partnership in the strengthening of partnership between Fiji and the United States. The visit reaffirmed our shared commitment to advancing cooperation in economic development, democratic governance, and regional stability, while providing an opportunity for both governments to deepen dialogue on practical initiatives that deliver tangible outcomes for our people and for the wider Pacific region. Fiji acknowledges with appreciation the support of the United States through the Millennium Challenge Corporation, which presents a significant opportunity to strengthen Fiji-United States relations in a very real and tangible way. Government has earmarked the MCC grant for transformational investments and mega projects aimed at strengthening Fiji's economic structure over the long term, including infrastructure and strategic development priorities that will enhance productivity, resilience, and inclusive growth. During the Deputy Secretary's visit, both governments also signed a memorandum of understanding to advance this initiative and establish a clear framework for cooperation in implementing the program. In the same vein, in line with the recommendations from the World Bank that I mentioned before, the government is progressing reforms to improve the ease of doing business in Fiji, to boost foreign direct investment and support private sector growth. These efforts, together with strengthened international partnerships and targeted development investments, will help advance our national ambition to accelerate economic growth, strengthen resilience, and create greater opportunities for all Fijians as we pursue a higher and more sustainable growth trajectory. The agencies involved in the business approval process will, as a matter of priority and urgency, streamline this process to remove bottlenecks and duplication and/or put in place necessary components of the system to facilitate seamless and efficient clearance of business registration and startups. The Speaker said, at the center of this national reform and democratic renewal agenda stands the Office of the Prime Minister. The office is the strategic nerve center of government, responsible for strengthening policy development, ensuring coherence across ministries, and aligning national implementation with the priorities articulated in the National Development Plan and Vision 2050. The office plays a central role in improving the quality of public policy through policy analysis, regulatory review, performance monitoring, and whole-of-government coordination mechanisms. It ensures that government decisions are evidence-based, fiscally responsible, and socially inclusive, and developmentally sustainable. The office provides cross-sectoral oversight of national reforms, integrated cabinet processes, monitors strategic projects, and ensures that ministries work in synergy. In a modern democracy, Mr. Speaker, sir, fragmentation weakens governance. Coordination is everything. The office also carries a unifying national responsibility to promote inclusive and sustainable development as a catalyst for growth, unity, and better governance across our multi-ethnic societies. Fiji's strength lies in its diversity. Our Itoke and Rutuman communities, including our Melanesian kinship ties, our Waswitoke and the Banaban communities of Rambe and Kioa, Indo-Fijians, Chinese Pacific Islanders, and everyone, Fijians and visitors that call Fiji home. Good governance in Fiji must be responsive to this rich composition. It must ensure that development is equitable, culturally respectful, and nationally unifying. Through strengthened policy integration and inclusive planning frameworks, the Office of the Prime Minister will continue to advance governance systems that recognize identity, protect rights, and promote shared prosperity, ensuring the communities feel valued. Inclusive sustainable development is not only a social objective, it is an economic strategy. Stability, investor confidence, and long-term growth are built upon unity, fairness, and public trust. These are important also in view of our place in the region. We have a responsibility to our Pacific family. Our stewardship role is critical for regional unity and cohesion. Mr. Speaker, sir, all government policies and programs will be anchored on 5 core principles: inclusion, ensuring that no community is left behind; diversity, recognizing Fiji's multicultural identity as a national strength; gender mainstreaming, embedding equity and opportunity across all sectors; good governance, transparency, accountability, and rule of law; and fifth, improved service delivery, measurable impact in the lives of our people. These are operational standards that will guide planning, budgeting, implementation, and evaluation across all ministries. Mr. Speaker, sir, a democracy is only as effective as the institutions that serve it. That is why the reform of the civil service is central to government's agenda. As previously announced, sir, the civil service is undergoing a comprehensive functional review. This review assesses capability across people, processes, and systems, the rationalization of mandates and structures, and efficiency, coordination, and performance gaps. The objective is clear: to build a professional, agile, and future-ready public service. The structural transformation is designed to strengthen governance and scale up performance. The review is undertaken through a phased approach involving the Office of the Prime Minister, Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of Strategic Planning and National Development and Statistics, the Ministry of the Civil Service, and Ministry of Rural and Maritime Development and Disaster Management. The inclusion of rural development reflects government's intention to introduce a modern rural development system responsive to communities, economically enabling, and adapt to changing climate and market realities. Mr. Speaker, sir, accountability is the backbone of good governance. By 30 September 2026, all permanent secretaries will be subject to a stringent performance evaluation. Each permanent secretary will sign a performance agreement. Evaluation will ensure alignment with national priorities, measurable outcomes, transparent review processes, and improved service delivery. This framework, Mr. Speaker, sir, will ensure alignment with national priorities, clear performance expectations, measurable outcomes, and transparent review processes. This is about raising standards and ensuring that public resources translate into tangible results for the citizens. Mr. Speaker, sir, Fiji's greatest asset are our people. With a youthful labor force comprising nearly 70% of young Fijians, we hold enormous demographic potential. Yet, youth unemployment, outward migration of skilled workers, and productivity challenges require decisive action. Government therefore commands formulation of a 5-year national strategic human resource plan. This forward-looking framework will align human capital development with national priorities and labor market realities. It will emphasize workforce planning, data-driven forecasting, collaboration between government, industry, and training institutions, and measurable performance indicators. It will be inclusive, it will be gender responsive, it will be climate aware, and it will be grounded in good governance principles. Human capital development is the most strategic investment in our democracy and long-term prosperity. A skilled, adaptable, and future-ready workforce strengthens economic competitiveness, social cohesion, and national resilience. Mr. Speaker, sir, to build a modern public service, we must also modernize the way we work. By the end of this year, flexible working hours will be formally introduced across the civil service, improving productivity and work-life balance. Strategic workforce plans will be developed for the civil service as a whole. These workforce plans will ensure the right skills are in place to meet national priorities today and into the future. Mr. Speaker, sir, technology is reshaping governance globally. His Excellency's reference to artificial intelligence reflects the seriousness of this transformation. We must exercise caution, but we must also be prepared to harness innovation responsibly. By September of this year, the Fiji Learning Institute for Public Service, FLIPS, will introduce AI-focused training programs to enhance data-driven decision-making, efficiency, and service delivery. AI will support, not replace. AI will support human judgment and ethical leadership. A modern democracy must be digitally capable while firmly grounded in constitutional values. Government is translating policy into action. The Nandi Flood Alleviation Project represents our most significant climate adaptation investment. Through river upgrades, drainage systems, and integrated watershed management, we are protecting homes, businesses, and critical infrastructure. This is a shift from reactive disaster response to proactive resilience building, safeguarding national confidence and economic stability. Mr. Speaker, sir, economic resilience and democratic governance are mutually reinforcing. Government will continue fiscal prudence, strengthen revenue integrity, and ensure value for money. Growth must be inclusive across sugar reform, agriculture, fisheries, tourism, diversification, manufacturing, digital transformation, and governance of public enterprises. Mr. Speaker, sir, although I have assumed the cabinet role of Minister responsible for youth and sports, I will allow Honourable Sakura and Honourable Bia to address the Honourable House on matters dear to them, which they have been working diligently for in the past 3 years. Mr. Speaker, sir, there is much work ahead, but the government is moving forward and is in the right direction, strategically, deliberately, and guided by principles. We are uplifting democracy not only through laws, but through systems, capable institutions, accountable leadership, empowered citizenship, inclusive development. We are strengthening governance not only through oversight, but through performance. We are strengthening unity not only through words, but through inclusive policy choices that protect diversity, promote fairness, and expand opportunities. As we look to the years ahead, let us recommit ourselves to service above self, unity above division, nation above politics, democracy above expediency. On behalf of the government, I thank His Excellency the President for his address, and I thank all honourable members for having participated in the policies and debate of these policies over the last 3 years. May we all have an enjoyable week of Parliament. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.